Shudder is a ghost story film, and I'm referring to the American version as the original. Came out of Thailand. And probably the Thailand version is probably better, although I haven't seen it, but I'm just assuming it was probably better than this one. The basic story is this newlywed couple. The husband is a photographer. He gets a job being a photographer in Japan. He's been there before. His wife's new to it and all this stuff. As they're settling in, they're on the road, and they seemingly hit this woman on the street and have a car crash. The woman mysteriously disappears. They can't find her, and the husband's not even sure that there was a woman at all, but his wife says, no, I saw her, and all this stuff. Well, of course, there's something afoot. So as it unfolds, she initially is tormented by the spirit, and the photographs that they take and that he takes in his job and whatnot have these bizarre distortions in them, and eventually you realize it's the ghost of this woman. And so there's a different series of events that happens. She's convinced there's something there, and he's not, so it takes some convincing for him to believe it, and then he starts having experiences as well. It freaks him out, and so that sort of thing as it unfolds. There's other characters here, but they're really into the background. There's two friends of his that are they're introduced as, frat boy type party goers, type guys that he hung around with. And that's your first clue. So, and then quite a lot of the girls around are quite forward with her husband and whatnot, and so you get the idea that he was a bit of a playboy before he decided to settle down with this girl. So that's going on, of course, but you can pretty much figure out what the deal is if you haven't already. So as it unfolds, they go to this psychic expert, and he explains, but the husband's not convinced of it. But ultimately, the torment and attacks by the spirit increase and get worse and worse. They find out who this woman was. They find she has died, and then he reveals that she was an ex-girlfriend of his. And they dated, but he was not really all that serious into her. He says, I think I was perhaps her first relationship or something of that nature, that she was rather sheltered by her parents and everything, and wasn't so she was full on in love with him and all this sort of stuff, to the point of obsession. And he tried to break it off, but she kept following him around and all this sort of stuff. And so he says, it's a sad story, what are you going to do? And so he's like, man, but now from beyond the grave she's obsessing about this guy. Well, it's not as simple as that. Turns out he colluded with his buddies to drug her and have her posed in pictures with them in bed together, so that he could use the photos to blackmail her and force her to leave him alone. He says, I'll send these to your conservative parents if you don't leave me alone. And that was going to be the plan. He took the pictures of this, but the two guys decided to take it to the next level, and they had their way with her, And of course, she's devastated with this, and she ultimately ends her life. And now her spirit is seeking revenge. So, okay, so that's the motivation for the spirit, is this revenge thing, and you reveal that the husband is this piece of crap. He didn't participate in the attack, but he didn't do anything to stop it either, and all that. So now the two guys, they're introduced as these cads, and then they're quickly dispatched by the spirit, and it's like, the flow of it it's just suddenly you jump to this and you jump to that and let's move along here and that kind of thing. It doesn't really come together all that well. I mean, it seems like they would have all been tormented by this spirit. It happens very quickly for them. They have no idea any of this is going on. The one guy is seducing yet another model, taking pictures of her, and suddenly his camera, it kills him. And basically, the spirit uses it to. Never mind. If you want to see it, you'll see it. But nevertheless, that's how he ends. The other buddy is driven to throw himself out the window after being tormented by this. But it's almost done off screen. Not really. They go to his apartment and find him going crazy, and they can't stop him before he does that, and that sort of thing. But it's just all of a sudden, and then at the end, don't worry, we explain it all. They were really vicious bastards. It's just not plotted well. I think there are elements that should have been dealt with in another form or fashion about how this unfolds, where the mystery is revealed here. But anyway, so ultimately, yes, he's tormented by this spirit for the rest of his life. He ends up in an asylum with her, her spirit, and there's no escape. The wife, of course, leaves him, and there you go. The end. See, happy ending after all. Obviously not, but it just, I don't know, it just didn't flow very well. And it just, you jump to this, you jump to that, and then, oh yeah, it's this terrible thing that happened. Plus, the stupidity of this guy, he saved the pictures. So this is the thing where the spirit, all the while, was trying to tell the wife something. But she's doing a terrible job of it. I mean, she's just terrorizing her just as much as the rest. And then at the end there, by looking through the photographs, she realizes from the beginning the spirit was trying to point her to this, I don't know, secret room or whatever within the house where there was all these photos and whatnot, and she finds the camera that had the images of the assault, and she sees it, and then he's like, oh, where did you find that? And it's like, you kept that. I mean, you're really stupid. I don't know. And so it really failed, in my opinion. It just, wasn't that good. The actors are fine for their performances. I recognize them. The husband, he's the guy from Fringe. He was the main dude, who was the son of John Noble's character, who came from a parallel Earth, and that sort of thing. And the blonde girl, I remember her from this series that it only lasted one season, but Terry O'Quinn was in it, where he played her father, and apparently he was an agent of the devil, and he ran this hotel in New York that had all kinds of supernatural things in it. All of that, but I don't think this movie did them any favors, but it's got some sort of scares here and there, but for the most part, a bit of a dud. So, quite possibly the original was better. Don't know. I'd have to look for that, but not really inspired to do so on account of this version kind of being a waste of my time, unfortunately.